Turkey has signed several agreements with Nigeria that will see its volume of trade increase to over $1 billion in a major push to ramp up commercial and economic cooperation with Africa's most populous nation. President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan arrived in Abuja, where he met with President Muhammadu Buhari as part of a wider trip to the African continent. The trip appears to be a significant step in Turkey's attempts to increase its influence on the continent as it prepares to host two major Africa-focused events in Istanbul, a two-day Turkey-Africa Third Economy and Business Summit, which starts on Thursday, and a two-day Turkey-Africa Third Partnership Summit in December. For more on this, we're now joined by Bakary Kone, who's a director at the Africa Capacity Building Foundation. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me once again. Thank you.
Is Turkey joining the scramble for Africa?
Oh, definitely. As African, we should rejoice that the rest of the world is finding increasing interest in our continent. We should just recall that a couple of decades ago, talked about Africa was in terms of humanitarian assistance. It was more pity than business, but we have turned the tide. Today, the whole world is running to Africa, and for a good reason. The continent's economic potential is fully recognized, and we have a growing population, and in parallel, a growing middle class that is going to constitute a fantastic market of which each significant country of the world want to have its piece. But what is important is for Africans themselves to know that everyone has a strategy for Africa, but it is important that we have a strategy for ourselves so that these partnerships can really be win-win, as everyone claims.
All right, so this comes at a time, of course, where the Continental Africa Free Trade Agreement is in play and that we're being encouraged to do more inter-Africa trade. Aren't these agreements further perpetuating the sad situation of us exporting 85% of our trade to other countries beyond the continent?
I think this is a very important question. I don't think the AfCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area, is really asking Africa to close its borders to the rest of the world. No. But it is asking a fundamental question to Africans. Are we going to continue to import everything we use, or we're going to ramp up our manufacturing capacity? Because that is where the issue is. If the other countries of this world are coming to Africa to sign agreements, those agreements should come with a clear transfer of technology so that production can happen in Africa rather than just importing what is produced elsewhere. Because when it is produced elsewhere, it doesn't create much employment in Africa. And we have a huge youth population that is coming and which is aspiring to have this job. So building capacity on our continent, making sure that these agreements come with a clear transfer of technology, that is, I would say, the way forward for the continent.
Are you happy with the quality of the agreements signed between Turkey and Nigeria? When you look at them, are they the kind of deals that you can look at and say, this is of benefit to us much more than our European counterpart?
Well, I like to believe that agreements are living instruments. It is important that when agreements are signed, there are possibilities of revisions from time to time, and that is important. I don't know all the details of the agreement between Turkey and Nigeria, but the point is, I'm sure Nigeria has been in a hunt for example, vaccine, ramping up its vaccine production. So any kind of agreement that will come to kind of either slow down or even stop that kind of ambition definitely would not be in the interest of the Nigerian population. So, and it's the same for all our continent. We have to be more and more mindful that countries have no friends. Countries only have interest. And that is, I'm not the one saying that, say, former French politician, General de Gaulle, who said it many, many years ago. So, yes, a lot of countries come to Africa on account of friendship, but friendship doesn't exist at that kind of level. So we have to make sure we defend our interests well, and looking carefully at the agreement we sign is the first step in this direction. Thank you.
All right, so this is on the economic front, and one other area of challenge and questions being raised is on the military front, and we have to question what it is that a lot of these distant countries want. We've seen Russia, we've seen France, and now we're seeing Turkey talking about helping Nigeria's military in dealing with militant insurgencies. On the face of it, it sounds like a good thing, but it is interesting that we're seeing more and more influence from these international players in African affairs on a military front.
Another very good question. In the case of Turkey, let me just remind our audience that Turkey has had a military presence in Africa for some time, based in Somalia. Now, the country is pushing to Libya and now to Nigeria and probably elsewhere on the continent. The point you're making is important, and I think more regional and sub-regional cooperation around our defense and our military activities will be more important than the kind of solutions that are coming from outside Africa. I was very glad very recently when I saw what happened in Mozambique. And I think that is a clear example that intra-African cooperation can work very well when it comes to defense. And this is where, the focus should go, rather than, signing agreements that will inhibit our own capacity to develop our defense and our military.
Can we trust our politicians? Because sadly, some of them have signed away the crown jewels to European masters for prime addresses in Europe and fat bank accounts in Switzerland and other places.
Well, you see, that's an interesting question, because if it was only let's say the older generation of politicians that are using those practices, then you could say, well, the newer generation will be more patriotic when it comes to keeping their savings on the continent. But you just have to read the Pandora Papers to see that it is going beyond a certain generation of politicians. But the solution to that is not really to blame so-and-so politician. It is to have strong institutions on our continent that can prevent the flight of savings from Africa to Switzerland or elsewhere. The real problem that we have is institutional strengthening. And, you know, if I could open a window there about the organization for which I work, we really believe that the more capacity we have on a continent, the more strong institution we have on a continent, the less of this capital flight out of Africa will happen. A report that was issued a few years ago by the Economic Commission for Africa said that if the resources that are leaving the continents every year were to stay, you know, there will be no need for foreign direct investment in Africa. Can you imagine? So, yes, we need to strengthen our institutions. We need to strengthen the capacities, the skills of our people to be able to detect this capital flight. And this is what the African Capacity Building Foundation is trying to achieve.
All right, I want to end where we started, and that was on the business front, and talk about this Turkey-Africa business summits that are coming up. Again, France-Africa, Russia-Africa, China-Africa summits, Turkey-Africa summits. What is going on?
Well, that's a very, very good point. And I think it is President Kagame, the president of Rwanda, who, when he was chairing the African Union, said, well, why would a country have that kind of partnership with the whole continent? And besides, what is happening is these countries have bilateral cooperation with a large number of our countries. But on top of that, they have an agreement, a partnership at the overall level. I mean, that is it's a bit surprising. And if you see the economic environment around the globe, you realize that this is only happening on our continent. So it's a very important question for our leaders to say, well, why would one country invite the whole continent for a summit when at the same time that country have bilateral relationship? And what does the continent stand to gain from having 40, 50 African presidents going to sit with the president of one country? It's an important question. Unfortunately, I don't have all the responses. It will take us to really study what those big summits have brought to the continent. There are all the countries that are, all the significant countries that are coming for cooperation with Africa also want their summit where they bring in all our presidents.